6 months reporting the story, on and off. They were 3 hours away, so we went down on the weekends mostly, 3 or 4 days at a time. And during the 6 months, see, this is the everybody can do this, because I know nobody's going to get 6 months off to do a story anymore, right? That would be like in the dreamland. But I did 24 other stories in those 6 months. So I was really trying to keep one a week at least in the mix, so they would let me keep working on this. And of course, a lot of that was my own time. But it grew. You know, at first it was going to be a really happy Sunday story about a little girl who they didn't think was going to get adopted, got adopted. The end, yay. But then the more I looked into it, and I got really obsessed with the idea of feral children, and I started doing all this research about how rare it was and how they could be helped, and the neurological development that's lost when you don't have speech for the first 7 years of your life, and started interviewing psychologists and psychiatrists and speech pathologists, and found that the story was really a lot more than just this one little girl. We decided to go back and try to tell the story from the beginning, which usually I don't like to have to recreate stuff, but we missed that first year and a half since she'd been rescued. So when we found the police officer at the beginning of that video, he was golden. I mean, he was like tall and strong and handsome and had this great voice, but as soon as you brought up her name, he started crying. And I'd never seen a cop cry before, you know, and he had a son about the same age, and he remembered everything. He kept saying, I wonder what happened to her, you know, I always wondered what happened to her. So we had him take us through that day, through the evidence photos, and that's what you saw at the beginning. But he basically sat with us on his laptop and walked us through everything that had happened. And we had to stop the audio like 4 times because he just started crying. It was just so emotional for him. But that allowed me to recreate that scene. Between him and the social worker that was there that day, we were able to sort of piece together, and that's where the story started, was the moment that the neighbor saw the face in the window, and then the cop came in and took the little girl away. So that whole first section, the story was in 3 parts, and the whole first section was recreated with as much, you know, interviews and videos, stills as we could create from police files and stuff like that. And then I spent about a month writing it and editing it. My editor gave me 2 weeks, which I've never had 2 weeks in my life to write a story, 2 weeks to go write the story, and then we spent about another 2 weeks editing it and putting it together and you know, working on the cut lines and headlines and all that stuff. So it came out, it published on the web on a Friday at about 5 o'clock, and by Saturday morning it had crashed the website. So many comments, so many views, and it wasn't even in print till Sunday. So that was before it even came out in print, you know. And I think it was just because of the different pieces of humanity that story touched. It was a story that's probably in all of your communities. I mean, I can't tell you in the last 2 years since that story's come out how many other emails I've gotten from other journalists who are like, oh, I've got a boy in an attic. Oh, I've got a girl in a trailer. Oh, and the same type of stories are out there. And it's just a matter of convincing your editors to let you have the time to explore these stories and these people's lives and follow them not from the moment they're rescued, but till the moment they're a little bit rehabilitated, so there's some hope left in there. You know, I think that was the part that the story ended on a little, at least, was there's some hope for this child. It's not just all doom and gloom and stick her away in a nursing home somewhere. So, yeah.
That and organize it in such a concise way to tell that story.
That's the hardest part for me still. I've been doing this for 24 years, and what's that Bob Seger song, what to leave in and what to leave out? That's the hardest part for me still. My editor had me make a list of my scenes. So I don't outline, I'm a terrible outliner. But he had me list my scene. I did a chronology, like a timeline, and then I listed my scenes. And then he had me go back and write, okay, what does this scene mean? Give me like a 1 to 3 word theme for each scene. Does this, you know, this scene show neglect? This scene shows progress? This scene shows medical attention? And then we picked from this, probably on a 40 or 50 scenes, we picked 10. And we narrowed it down. So that helped me so much when I sat down to write, to know I'm not even good. I didn't even write about horseback riding therapy. I just put that in there like, we spent a day at horseback riding therapy. And I said, oh, they took her to horseback riding therapy. You know, that was about all I did with that scene, because it overlapped the speech therapy scene. It overlapped the occupational therapy scene. So it was a mention, not a scene. And that helped a ton when I sat down to write it. I was just like, okay, this whole notebook from that day, I'm not going to look at it. You know, I'm going to leave that over there. The other thing I do, and I don't know if you guys ever have done this, but the best gift anybody ever gave me as a writer was to have this awesome old editor named Ron Spear at a bureau in the middle of nowhere on the Outer Banks in North Carolina. And I would come back from writing a story, even a stupid, you know, city council story, and he would go, okay, tell me your story. Give me your notebooks. Now tell me your story. And he would take all my notes. And his premise was like, you've reported this story, you've lived through this story, you know what this story is. If I take your notes away, you can tell it like a story. If I leave you 17 notepads, you're going to waste a lot of time flipping through pages and finding quotes and looking up, specific things. So I write all my stories without my notes now. I stick it in my car, I stick them in my office, I stick them in my bedroom. I don't want them nearby. And I write the story as if I'm telling you the story. Sometimes I practice it on poor Tucker. He's got to listen to it. Let me tell you the story I'm writing, son. And that helps too. If you can tell it out loud first, you realize what you're most interested in, and you can watch your kid or your dog or your neighbor, whoever it is, react to it. That helps me figure out highs and lows in the story. But I write them all like as a straight-through narrative, and I leave little brackets. Like she was wearing a blank shirt. Oh, it was hot pink. Or he weighed 93 pounds. Oh, wait, it was 97 pounds. So I go back through my notes after and fill in those blanks. But I think writing without notes is the number one thing that elevated me from being a reporter to a writer. That made that transition for me.